Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to talk about the aggregate functions. Now, aggregate functions calculate summary statistics or perform aggregations across rows or columns of the data. Some of the examples of the aggregation functions are sumx, averagex, maxx, minx, countx, and medianx. Now, we have already talked about the mathematical functions in that we already saw sum, average, max, min. How are these different from those? So for example, you want to do some row-based operation and then you want to find the sum of a specific column. Then you would be using sumx. SumX basically gives you the sum of an expression evaluated for each row. Now, what does each row mean? That is when it is trying to do the sum, it is also calculating the row-based operations that you have performed on the top of it. In the same way, average x is used to find the average of an expression for each row in the table. Maxx would be able to find the maximum value of expression. Same for the row-based operations that we did previously. The same would be done for the minx. It would be able to find the minimum value. Countx here would help us to find us the values which are non-blank. Then we have the median x, which would return the median or the middle value of an expression. So let's go to the Power BI screen and see how these are different from the mathematical function. So we are working over here with the data set. Now this data set is containing few columns like quantity, unit price, and all the other order informations. Now let's say that you want to find the total sales over here. How would you do it? So for each product, I can find the sales that happened because I have this quantity over here and I'm having this unit price. So in order to see the total price for this specific order, what I need to do is I need to create a new column. And in that column, it would be the quantity multiplied by the price. And it would be the row based operation that would be happening. So for example, let's create a new column for now. The name of the new column is total price. And this is basically quantity into unit price. So I will write quantity multiplied by unit price. So you can see we have got the quantity multiplied by unit price for each of the order. So this is a row based operation that is happening. As we can see with the next row, the quantity is 1, the unit price is 1200. So we are getting the total order value of 1200. Now you want to find what is the total sales. So what you would do is you will do the sum of this total price through for this complete column you will do it. Now, is there any easy way to do it without creating any column? Yes, there is. So let's say this column wasn't there. What would you do in that case? So let me delete this column for now. Or let's do one thing. First, I'll try to find the sum of this. So in order to find the sum of this, what we need to do is we would again need to create a new measure. And this new measure, I have to name it as total sales, which would be basically the sum of the total price. So now this total measure has been created, the total sales measure. So to use that, I will use card and I will drag and drop this total sales value over here. The result is coming 9,166. Now I have to match whether there was an easier option to do that and if the value matches there or not. So what I'll do is, again, I will go in the home and I will create a new column. This time, instead of multiplying these two columns and using the sum column to find the total sales, what I'll do is I will use the sumx function. So here, the name of the new column, I can keep it as, or let's say I'm creating a measure for now. Sorry for the confusion. Since it is a single value, let's create a measure. I will go to new measure. The measure name I'm keeping as total sales measure. For the easier understanding, since we already have a measure by the name of total sales, here instead of sum, I'm using sumx. Now inside this sumx, you can pass on some row-based operations. As we already know that when I was trying to do the sum for the previous one, we needed a column with the values of total price. But in this case, I won't be using this total price. So what I'll do is first I have to write sumx, then I have to provide the table name. So here the table name is sample cells, comma. Then it would ask me the expression. So in the expression, I will say that I have to multiply the quantity with unit price. So I will first take the quantity column. So I will take this quantity column over here and I will multiply it with the unit price column. So I will write unit price. And you know that why are we using the sample sales and in square brackets we are using quantity because whenever we are referencing any column, we have to provide the table name over here. Now hit enter. You will see that it has created a new measure by the name of total sales measure. So I will again go to the report view. I will create a new card over here and I will drag and drop this total sales measure. You can see it has provided us the value. Now, this would be done whenever you have to do any row-based operations. And in that case, you don't want to use the sum. You will be using sum x because again, if you're not using the sum, you need to have that total sales value or the total price column over here in this case. So that would save you a single step over there. Now, in a similar way, what I can do is I can create some more measures. For example, I can create the average x, max x, and also I can create the minimum x. So again, what I'll do is, let's go to the report view this time. I will click on the new measure. The new measure that I'm making is the average total price or the average total sales over here. I'm using average x function. I have to pass sample sales table. And in the expression, I will again say quantity multiplied by unit price. Close this bracket and hit enter. To see that again, I will create a card and drag and drop this average total sales. So now we have got our average total sales, which is 183.32. Now for the next one, we need to create the max X value and the minimum X value. That is the minimum total sales that was done and the maximum value of the total sales. So again, if I show you the table view over here, you can see that this total price varies for each of our order. Now I want to find what is the minimum total price of a particular order. So in that case, what I can do is I can click over here and I can say sort ascending. So you can see that the minimum total price was 10. And if we talk about the maximum one, it is 1200. So the minimum sales value that we are doing for a specific order is 10 and the maximum one is 1200. So let's see how we can find it with the help of min-x function and the max-x function. So again, I will go to the report view, click on the new measure, choose the first measure as minimum sales or minimum total price of product. I will use the min-x function. First, I have to pass the table name, comma, then the expression I have to pass. So for example, if we first want to multiply the quantity into unit price, I will write quantity into unit price. Close the bracket, hit enter. You can see it has created a measure. So I will make a card for it, drag and drop this value. So in this way, we can find the minimum total price of a particular order, which was coming 10 over there. Now talking about the maximum price, it was 1200 we know. So again, I have to create a measure for that. So I will go in the new measure option. I will say maximum total price. I'm using the maxx function. First, I have to pass the table name, comma, and in the expression, I will say quantity multiplied by unit price. Close the bracket, hit enter. To verify it, you can create a card and then you can drag and drop the values. We can find the maximum price. Now let's say if you want to find the median of it, how would you do it? Again, to use the median, I have to use the function median x. The measure name would be median total price. You can give any name that you want. The function that I will be using is the median x. First, I have to provide the table, which is sample sales, comma. Then the expression that I am giving is quantity. So as it is trying to show you this suggestion, you can hit tab into unit price. Close the bracket, hit enter. To verify it, I will again create a card and I will drag and drop this value. So the median total price of an order is 60. So in this way, you can use these aggregate functions. Using this is fairly easy. The only thing that you have to keep in mind is whenever you are performing any row-based operations, at that time you will be using these kind of functions. Else, the best thing to do would be using the mathematical functions, which are basically sum, average, minimum, maximum. Those are also aggregate functions, but those do not perform the row-based operations. That's why we took those two sessions individually. So this was all for this session. In the next session, we'll be talking about some other DAX functions like year to date and other date and time functions. Thank you.